Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've ever felt like no matter how aggressively you save, you're just constantly running in place, well, you are not crazy. The math is quite literally rigged against you. Today, we're going to unpack the true mathematical and psychological blueprints behind why most people never hit financial independence. And, more importantly, we're looking at exactly how you can rewrite those rules to finally build some lasting wealth. Okay, let's just immediately toss out the most distracting myth in all of personal finance. You are absolutely not failing at wealth building because of your daily coffee habit or, because you occasionally order avocado toast. We've all been fed this line that skipping these tiny little luxuries will magically make us millionaires. But as we're about to see, that is just a complete distraction from the real structural issues. The reality? You aren't failing. You are just playing a game where the systemic math is deliberately rigged to guarantee you lose. I mean, think about it. The rules of this whole financial ecosystem were written by massive institutions to protect their profit margins, not to secure your freedom. So we really need to dissect this underlying math if we ever actually want to break the cycle. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The financial independence myth. 2. Trap 1. Renting your money. 3. Trap 2. The silent thief. 4. Trap 3. Trading time directly. And finally, 5. Escaping the rigged system. All right, let's jump straight into section 1, the financial independence myth. Now, behavioral science reveals a really fascinating trap here. By agonizing over petty frugality, like skipping a $5 latte, we give ourselves this false sense of control. Meanwhile, we're completely ignoring the massive, invisible macro forces that are actually draining our wealth behind the scenes. It's kind of like trying to bail water out of a sinking ship with a teaspoon while totally ignoring the giant hole in the hull. Moving right along to section 2, trap 1, renting your money. You know, when you swipe a credit card or take out a high-interest loan, you aren't just buying a product. You're actually paying rent on cash that isn't yours. That's what interest really is. It's just money's way of charging you a continuous monthly fee just for the so-called privilege of holding on to it. To really see this in action, imagine buying a simple $12 burrito on a credit card that carries a 20% interest rate. Right in that moment, your brain just registers a cheap $12 lunch. It feels entirely harmless, right? But here's the catch. If left unchecked and you're only paying the minimums, that $12 meal essentially clones itself through the power of reverse compound interest right into a $50 regret. Compound interest is literally the silent engine of wealth. It is either your absolute best unpaid employee when you're investing or your absolute worst enemy when you're borrowing. So why do we keep falling for this? Well, it's because human beings are notoriously bad at visualizing long-term compounding penalties. Our brains are hardwired for right now. We want that burrito today, and we literally cannot picture the $50 penalty hiding a few years down the line. And it's this exact mental block that prevents long-term wealth automation, keeping us permanently stuck in this first trap, constantly paying rent on our own lives. Which brings us to section 3, trap 2, the silent thief. We've all been taught to be terrified of the stock market, but actually keeping your cash in a basic savings account practically guarantees a loss. Why? Because it allows inflation to just quietly steal your future purchasing power, all while you're sitting back thinking your money is perfectly safe inside a bank vault. Let's look at this 100 loaves of bread metaphor to see how this invisible theft actually works. Imagine a base economy has exactly 100 loaves of bread, and the money supply matches it perfectly, making a loaf cost $10. But then, say the government suddenly prints an extra $1,000. Well, there's no extra bread magically created to match that new money, so the baker simply raises the price to $20 to compensate. Printing money doesn't actually create wealth, it merely dilutes the money that's already sitting in your pocket, forcing prices to skyrocket to $30 and beyond over time. And again, psychologically, we completely trick ourselves. We genuinely believe that hoarding physical cash or just watching numbers sit idle in a low-yield checking account is the ultimate safe play. But we're completely ignoring the invisible force of inflation. This specific behavioral blind spot is exactly what traps us into letting our hard-earned wealth just slowly evaporate year after year. Let's move to section 4, trap 3, trading time directly. This right here is the absolute core difference between the middle class and the wealthy. The tired worker trades an hour on the clock for a single dollar bill. 1 hour equals 1 paycheck. But the investor, they trade a dollar bill to generate $2 bills. True financial independence really only happens when you finally shift from trading your limited time directly for a paycheck to forcing your money to get off the couch and actively work for you. Now, the psychological barrier here is absolutely massive. Trading time for money feels so secure, right? You put in the hour, you get the dollar. It's a very satisfying, immediate feedback loop for our brains. Making the shift to automated investing breaks that loop entirely, which makes it feel like this huge, unnatural risk. But let me tell you, overcoming this deep psychological need for an immediate hourly reward is absolutely essential if you ever want to break free from the rigged system. You've got to endure the discomfort of delayed gratification so you can ultimately buy back your freedom. And finally, Section 5, Escaping the Rigged System. All right, so here is your actual blueprint for independence. First, you've got to let go of the guilt over petty frugality. Your $5 coffee is definitely not the enemy. Second, stop paying rent on your money. You have to crush that high-interest debt that's aggressively compounding against you. Third, protect your wealth from the silent thief by moving it out of basic savings accounts and into assets that actually beat inflation. And fourth, make the structural shift from trading your time to investing your dollars. By recognizing these mathematically rigged traps and deliberately rewiring our behavior, we can actually automate our wealth and establish a real system for true financial independence. But, this leaves us with a critical, undeniable reality. Even if you optimize every single thing we talked about today, you are still swimming upstream against a massive macroeconomic current. So now that you know the system is mathematically rigged to keep you trading time for money, why exactly does your paycheck feel like it buys less and less every single month? Like, what are the actual mechanics behind this inflation thief? I want you to really think about that the next time you look at a price tag. And join me next time as we keep pulling the thread on exactly how to beat the system.